Welcome to another episode of Road Review, your non-stop road trip with only half the fights. To my right, we have Connor, the ladies' man. To my rear, we have Tim, the local East Bumfuck resident. And driving, we have myself, Eric, the sellout. How are you guys doing?
That was a hell of an introduction. I wasn't expecting that. That was pretty good.
I am a bum. Glad we've cleared that up. Eric and Co., what's the quietest place you've ever been?
My thoughts.
Really?
Even in his thoughts, there's much noise.
I think on a scale between, say, inside a bank vault and maybe the cold vacuum of space, I think I found one that trounces all of them.
Wow.
What do you got?
Your local courthouse. Today, I had jury duty. I missed out on a day's work to go to my local superior court, only to be told that my service was canceled.
More like inferior court.
Nice.
Got him.
Get
So anyway,
wrecked, you judicial system.
a lot of... Yeah, what's the judicial system ever done for me? A lot of people like to harp on the DMV as their government building or state-run punching bag, but not a lot of people have been to court. People could go their entire lives without serving jury duty. In fact, only 500,000 people a year get selected. So maybe I'm lucky, maybe I'm not. But anyway, you could hear a pin drop in this place. And it's not like it was empty. There were people, busybodies, lawyers, judges, security guards, but all of them were so quiet. It was uncanny. I thought I went deaf the second I walked into the building.
Well, that's super interesting because when I think of the court scene, I think of a bunch of people screaming at each other and then like a judge having to bang a gavel to call order because everybody's just screaming at each other.
Surprisingly civil. I think a judge would live for having cases that would get as heated as that.
So was it a civil court then?
I guess. Boo.
Was that a joke or did you actually mean it?
No, that was a joke.
No, it wasn't a joke. You can tell me whatever it was, but it wasn't a joke.
Tim said it was surprisingly civil. So I asked.
I think the vast majority of cases that a judge in my neck of the woods has to deal with are parking tickets and traffic violations. There are no murders out here. There's no people out here to murder. He's probably settling disputes between the forest creatures.
Well, Tim, since you had to drive down those long dirt roads to get to the courthouse, I mean,
The one-room courthouse?
the one-room courthouse.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no wonder it's so quiet, Tim. There was hardly anyone there. 'Cause the wooden wheels broke driving down the road.
Yes, of course. But in other news, since my jury service was unfortunately canceled, I had an entire day to myself. Ain't that great?
That's kind of crazy. They just kind of canceled it like that. Out of the blue.
No, they do that. No, they do that.
But the day of, they're just like, all right, they dropped it like right now.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, you have to kind of check in. I know I've never been on jury duty, but
you can call to confirm the night before, which I failed to do, but you cannot call to confirm the day of. You cannot generate any records of your court appearance the day of. I have no idea why. I assume it's to prevent fraud, or maybe they don't want people dropping out 5 minutes before their call time. That would be pretty lame.
Yeah.
But
Something like that.
it's like calling the teacher to ask if the test is actually that day to see if you can go in for it. Hey, yo, teach.
Is the test still on?
Test today?
I'm sick.
Is the test still on? I'm sick as fuck.
so that's where I stand.
That's cool. I feel like my arms are gonna fall off.
So
that's where I'm at.
We have two different viewpoints.
Yeah. So in the latest news of good old Eric, I have been as we know, it's a week after. Is it a week? Yeah, it's a week after New Year's. Almost
exactly.
Is it? Yeah, it's exactly 1 week after New Year's.
Ain't that
Well,
crazy?
Wait. Before you go on to this, Eric, I have a question.
Okay.
So today is the 7th. Is it 1 week since New Year's, or is tomorrow 1 week since New Year's?
It's 1 week since New Year's Eve.
It's
Okay.
been...
Okay.
It's been 1 week.
I was very confused for a second.
No, yeah, that's fair.
The counting of days.
But,
Sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay. So, I started off my New Year's, like everyone decided it was a good idea to start going back to the gym and starting the cut again.
Oh,
and
the
I
cut.
did start.
It never
Yeah,
stops.
well, no. So I did start the cut like a week before New Year's, like the week of New Year's. But then with all the New Year's festivities and everything, I got caught up, and then I ended up being out of lag. So I'm like, fuck it, we'll start next week. So I started this week, and I started a new workout routine. And boy, does my everything hurt. I feel like I'm a 50-year-old man in a 22-year-old's body, and it's just awful. When beating my fucking meat is a challenge, that's when we know. That's when we know that it's serious.
There's been a problem.
Yeah, conductor, we have a problem. Conductor. But no, it's great. I love I'm one of those people that really likes the feeling of being tired, I guess, like muscular tired.
Right, like a runner's high, almost.
I guess, yeah, I guess.
Muscular high.
Yeah, but man, is it a double-edged sword, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's man, I feel awful, but man, I feel awful.
Oh yeah.
Tim, have you been on the cut recently?
Actually, I'm on the bulk.
Oh.
Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Tim's eating 3 apple pies a day.
Oh,
boys.
yeah. Drown it with beer. And,
Tim drinks gravy.
no, I've opted for vegetable oil. It's more,
Are you being serious?
more
or are you
calorie
meaning
dense.
right now? Oh, okay. So you are.
Well, to be frank, I am bulking. I make the mistake every time I begin training harder and harder. I fail to actually eat anything, and then I feel miserable. So what I'm doing now is I'm eating when I'm hungry. Crazy, right?
And then you
opting for meats instead of breads, and doubling my training routine. That's what we're doing out here. How long will that sustain? I don't know. Either I turn up dead or I get huge. Either way, I think I'll be pretty happy with that.
So wait, you said that you eat when you get hungry? So if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're like, man, I'm gonna have a big fucking sandwich right now.
Yes.
Oh really?
Not. When you say it like that, it sounds weird, but I have eaten 4 meals in a day. It has happened.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it 4 meals or is it 3 meals and a couple snacks?
Closer to 3 meals and a couple snacks. I think I would equate it to smaller meals more often, which is awful when I'm working, but is fine when I'm home. Like today it was easy, but
Yeah, but that's the way to do it though.
yeah, smaller meals more often.
Yeah. Say smaller meals, more muffin.
I mean, that'd be awesome just to maintain a meal that's just, it's like you eat one piece of pasta every minute, so you're just maintaining eating flow, no matter
my
what,
God.
throughout all the day.
Yeah, could you imagine having a break-even point for just calories? Where you were just barely sustaining yourself?
It's
What would
it's
happen?
as long as I have a tubule of penne pasta every 30 minutes, I survive. That's all that matters.
I think that's when your midichlorian count reaches its peak at that point.
Right.
You
Passes.
experience true tranquility.
Yeah, passes values never before seen. Oh, man. No, that's good though. You gotta bulk and then you gotta harvest. It's all about the bulking and the harvest. You can't go in hungry, like you're saying.
I've never heard it called a harvest, but I love it.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're bringing the weight on so you can lose it later.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're harvesting. You reap the rewards of a bountiful harvest. but alas.
Connor, what have you been up to? I saw you sent us, or you sent me something very interesting that you're doing.
I would love to talk about this. So I recently have been getting into like flight simulators. So I got like a flight simulator stick, and I've been kind of messing around. I think one of the big things recently that I think is super cool is people have started to play games with added on challenges. So the first community that I remember seeing it with that like I was kind of that I like is like Pokemon. So like people will use a certain Pokemon to be a game, or they'll use a certain like you can't heal using you establish challenges that are not really in the game to play the game, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
like beating all of Pokemon with a single Combi.
Yeah,
which
like
which you did, right, Connor?
correct. That would be something crazy enough for me to do. But the thing is that I really like a select few games, like really like.
Could you give us the short list?
Yeah, like I like Pokemon. I like Fallout. Like obviously not 76. We don't talk about that. But like Fallout 4, New Vegas 3, and like Borderlands. Like those are like probably the big three that like stick out in my brain. But like I like those games so much, and I've played through them so many times that it's nice to like have a new challenge and to set that kind of stuff because you've developed this knowledge of the games over the years. I find it far more rewarding than beating a game like another time. I find like I think the coolest thing is people that have such an intimate knowledge of the game, like the glitches and like whether they're like speedrunning friendly or not. Like I think that is so cool. So anyways, I recently stumbled across a video where a guy beat, I think it was Fallout 4 with a flight stick. And so I have been trying to get that to work on Fallout New Vegas, and I just got it to work today, and I'm very excited about the potential of using it.
How has it been to like control it? Like, how did you bind the controls?
So it actually works out pretty well. So like, I don't know how to like explain it, but basically like, if you look up a generic flight stick, I just have the flight stick itself. I don't have any other accessories, so I'm just working with what I got. And generically what there is there's the the handle, and that has like up, down, left, right, and then it has like a turning function. And then on that handle there's a trigger. There's like about
What
five.
is the trigger bound to?
That's what I have bound to the right trigger for me.
Oh, okay.
So
So
essentially,
that's the gun. Yeah.
I would have
Right.
bound it to jump just to mix it up.
yeah, and I feel like there's a lot. So I've been using this program online, which basically it takes the controller, it takes the flight
X-Patter?
stick. No, it's something similar to that, but it binds it to like an Xbox controller. So you like rebind it in this application, and then you run the game, and then it acts like an Xbox controller. So you can rebind the keys however you'd like. But I have it as the trigger because it feels really nice in your hand, like to have it like that. And there's a lot of functions, like for example, in like Fallout New Vegas, like there's an auto walk function. So I have that set to like one of the toggles. So I just toggle it on or off, and like I walk forward or I don't walk forward, kind of thing. And so it's super nice because it's, again, like you're working with something that's not built for the game, but it's just
It's
super cool.
not a crazy Twitch game, it's a role playing game.
Right.
Speaking of like weird controllers I'm the king of using weird controllers to play games.
I love it. Yeah.
I've played things with DDR mats. I've played Street Fighter with motion controls. That one was
Awesome.
fun.
That's cool.
I think my peak is attaching a light gun to my computer and using the trigger as a mouse click
That's
for
awesome.
playing
remember that.
shooters. You can't aim using the gun, but you can pull the trigger. So it felt really nice to shoot people.
So GoldenEye was probably pretty sick.
Oh yeah,
That's
believe
probably
me, it was
it.
incredible.
Yeah, no.
Did you play Doom?
There's
I
some
played
cool
Doom,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Doom with a real gun.
Oh God.
But
I
it's-
remember that.
It's really cool. Like some of the ways that people have implemented controllers, like people that like there's somebody who beat a game just using like the DK bongos, like 8 DK bongos set up as different controllers. which is so cool. And then there's people like doing stuff with what's another one that I saw? One time using Dolphin, which is like a GameCube emulator that you guys might be familiar with. We actually did it. Played Melee using a mouse, so that was like odd. But it's stuff like that. Like I love the reusing of game controllers, and like it really brings into question like what is the optimal controller for the scenario you're in. With like a flight stick and a flight simulator, it makes sense because in real life that's what you'd be using. But like, you know,
But we can do
If
better.
I had
We
the
could-
option
who
to
knows?
install a flight stick into my car, I think I wouldn't hesitate. Would
How-
you would you
how would
guys
you do that?
would you guys drive your car with a flight stick?
that'd be kind of crazy.
What would you use? So how? All right,
Push
so-
the stick
Yeah.
forward to accelerate, pull it back to decelerate, turn it left and right. There you go. You act
I
like
don't-
this is hard.
It kind of is. I feel like that's a more
And the trigger is the horn.
always
Oh,
ready.
man.
You are.
Can you imagine? I'm fucking ready.
Guns, guns, guns.
Have you?
And my friend's
have
got
you
a
ever-
trigger finger over here. He's not afraid to use it. Beep beep.
Okay. No, so I was in New York, New York City a couple weeks ago. Not a couple weeks ago. What am I saying? Like a couple months ago. And I got into this. I took a cab with a couple of my family members, and we get into the car. We get into the taxi, and this guy takes off with one hand on the wheel and the other hand with his with his thumb on the horn. And this dude held his thumb on the horn the entire time, and he was
Awesome.
ready. This man honked more times at every little thing. I couldn't believe it. People driving in the city or something else.
You said this. You said this was in NYC.
Yeah, good old NYC.
Oh yeah, that's the way. That's the way it works.
This is the way.
This is the way. It's
But
incredible.
you have to be a different breed to like a drive in New York City. I feel like.
Right. You definitely
Like
do.
you have to be always ready.
Well, and it's interesting too, not to like change the subject a little bit, but like I don't understand exactly how taxi drivers like get a license, because you have to get like a certain license in New York City to drive a taxi.
Mhm.
And there's only like, let's say there's only like 5,000 in the entire city. I know that's not the number, but let's just say there is a fixed amount of licenses. They've had this big fight with Uber recently because Uber's essentially having anybody turn their car into a taxi, and it's really like challenging this whole source of revenue that the state had, like for people getting their license, and then now anybody can get their license. I just think it's kind of crazy how like an entire company can just like dramatically change everything that's going on with a
Well, yeah, it's like
with an
when
industry.
iPhone. Yeah, it's like when iPhone came in with the with putting like or it might not even been iPhone, just when they started putting cameras on cell phones, and then Polaroid like dropped off the face of the earth.
Right. It
It's like that.
disruptive technology is just so crazy. Like the fact that Blockbuster can be dead because it didn't adapt, or like that XYZ like comes in and it completely destroys an entire industry that was like doing just fine. It's crazy to me. I think that's so cool.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think the next one is gonna be?
I mean, that's
The
like
next like thing that'll like kill all of the like kill a certain market segment.
I think
That's
we're gonna automate politics.
so you think
That would be something else.
you think the politician is just gonna be useless?
I know. It's gonna be randomly generated, procedurally generated politicians.
I mean, it already basically is.
everything they say already has no value. You're just cutting out the middleman. I think they will be
And the middleman of the
in the
middleman.
future. In this, this is to see the future. You look to the past. I think politics is going to become completely dominated by what we would consider a ruling class. People that were bred for politics. You could already argue that this is already happening, but I think
Oh yeah, I was about to say, isn't that
I
already?
I think the
happening?
future will be dominated by people. I would nickname them squeaky clean. Basically, everyone will be a Clinton.
boomers.
No. It's sort of like, I don't want to use this term because it carries a negative connotation, but people groomed for politics, you know?
Well, I feel like it's always been like that, though. I feel like it's
No.
always been like if.
But
like,
I
you
mean,
kind of grow
every
up-
step of the chain. Your local selectman is your local selectman. He shops at your grocery store, but your governor is likely just a person, just a dude, right? They're up on the ladder a little further, like comparing it obviously to like the vice president or like a well-paid senator or a lobbyist. You're not going to get very far, right? I understand where you're coming from, but in a small town like mine, by the people for the people, that will be completely obliterated in our lifetime. I wouldn't be
You think
surprised
that-
if we don't scuttle the House of Representatives.
Interesting.
I would just love to see the entire like U.S. government just run by computers. I think it would make things so much more simpler and it would make a lot more sense.
I don't know, man.
I mean, this is a bold claim that I'm saying. I
Very
understand
bold
that.
claim.
But well, I mean, like our what's it called? Like the main decisions that are made, like the big decisions, like should we bomb these people or should we not? I feel like we got a trigger happy person sitting in the big boy seat, and I think that in most cases, unless it was, you know, if the situation was a little different, especially with what's going on right now, I don't think that most people would react the same way that Mr. Trump did.
That's right.
The only way that you could correctly, and I put that in air quotes, correctly set up an automated government would be if you had a completely impartial person or group of people designing it. Because when you bring it, when you face
Well,
it,
everything.
when you face
everything
it with
that's
questions
coded
of
has
morality, how does it make that decision? You could simplify and talk about self-driving cars. Is it moral for a self-driving car to prioritize saving its driver than the pedestrian it would hit? That's a moral quandary. And I don't think we should, I don't think that we should put absolute authority in the hands of one entity that we have no idea how it will react. And just put yourself in the boots of this computer, right? Say our involvement in the Middle East, right? If anything, from a completely logical standpoint, it would become more involved in the Middle East. It would look at the net gains of what we earn from operating in the Middle East, not only from the military-industrial complex, but from civilian contractors, from our oil wells. We're not over there to protect people. Everybody knows that. We are there to protect our values. We do that by protecting people, but we're still protecting our values. We're not going in there saving Al-Qaeda lives. We're going in there and we're putting democracy in place by force.
Yeah, so let's say we don't program the computer to.
We could just nickname it Skynet because this is what you're describing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's call it
Skynet.
So
yeah.
So
let's
say,
say,
how about a
say,
cuter name? How about we call it like Watson?
John.
Sky Cutie. Watson works too.
I like. Yeah, we'll call it Watson.
We'll call it
Watson
Watson
by
unnamed three-letter company.
So let's say Watson comes in and it is it's the main controller. So what if we set it up to only protect our own country and provide for I guess say providing for like the biggest or the majority of people that are living in the United States.
So immigrants.
No. I mean, not necessarily. I'm just saying like instead of being like democracy good, everyone else should have this too, which is what we've kind of been doing since the Cold War, essentially. Like, let's say we have it just so it only watches over what's going on in the U.S. It doesn't get involved with foreign affairs. All foreign affairs are left to actual people making moral decisions.
Okay.
Or ethical decisions.
All right.
Or unethical, depending on who's in charge.
A system like that could work if you had the federal government imposing absolute authority, which is not the case. We have two sets of laws, two sets of freedoms. You have your federal laws, which are your baseline, right? Like, don't get murdered by your neighbor. That's pretty good. Like, every state agrees to that. And then you have rungs above where certain states legalize certain things. For example, there are a lot of states right now that currently still allow the legal sale of vape products, even flavored vape products. Is it ethical to have Watson impose a federal ban on something that some states have deemed okay?
Well, that's always like the thing is that
because right now it's like this is fascism, where the state has absolute authority. What applies to California will not apply to Colorado. What applies to Colorado will not apply to Connecticut. When you impose that absolute authority, especially since, Washington, D.C. is on the eastern side of the country, in the middle, like, there are U.S. residents who have never even seen snow. Can you even believe that, like, how do you even begin to decide what's right when you're already, like, it's already so close-minded,
right, like,
by design?
Like it's incredibly hard to establish something that looks at everything as homogeneous when everything is very heterogeneous throughout the United States. Even just like you're saying, like climate or like culture or anything like that. And I think that the problem is that if you were to ever put, if you ever to have this all-seeing being or whatever, you have this let's
Watson.
say computer.
It's Watson. It's Watson.
Watty boy.
It's Watson.
What's up?
Old Watty
Watt.
boy.
We'll call him Watt for short.
Yo, Watt up.
Yo, Watt up.
So if you have Watt there, inevitably, like, you're gonna have to train it ethically, and like, it's kind of like the whole training a car about what to hit. The self-driving car about what, do you hit two people?
It chooses what to hit.
Do you hit two people or two children? You know what I mean?
I had it set into hit mode. Sorry.
We
Damn
trained it. We trained it to always hit the other pedestrian.
We trained it to prioritize Pomeranians and mailboxes. It'll avoid telephone poles, but God forbid you drive through the white neighborhood. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Right. But ethical and economical decisions always are on a scale, and it's like you're asking like a robot to pick.
Here's a claim.
To pick how many, but to pick
Eric,
how.
I think it could work.
Is.
I think it could totally work, but only on a small scale.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think
fascism could totally work if you have like 100 people. That's
well, okay. I'm not saying fascism could work.
That's it.
I'm just saying
it's absolute power in one entity that knows the needs of the state. It knows what's best for the state. That's what fascism.
It's like
is.
neo-fascism, because it's like you're putting it on this thing that's not even a person. Like, I guess that there's this like common assumed thing that like, okay, everything's gonna be cool because it's not a person in control. We know people are chaotic. People are chaotic evil. Or chaotic neutral.
I think actually, Eric, we might already live in this reality. We obey and order our lives in the codes written by people that died hundreds of years ago, right?
Connor,
nobody that created
Connor,
the Constitution.
Connor, do you hear that?
Yep.
I think Tim's voice is getting very Russian, like very quickly.
Really? I thought it was more Italian.
Or Iranian.
Or Chinese.
Ni hao. I am American.
Oh my God, it's starting.
No, here's okay. So we put our whole trust in the Constitution of the United States. It rarely changes. Amendments are a big deal. Acts of Congress are huge. That is our impartial lead. Like Constitution
Well,
absolutists are.
No, I think you might be like dead right, because
Well, that's like saying the Bible is like kind of the same.
But you can't get arrested over the Bible.
You don't know about that.
Depends on what state you're in.
Exactly.
The South, yeah, you're boned, man. But like in California,
the Bible's absolute.
To be fair, to bring the episode full circle, when you go to court, you put your hand on the Bible. So maybe there is some sort of thing to that.
If only I got to see that and my jury duty wasn't canceled.
Yeah. They actually ran out of Bibles, so you couldn't do it. That's why they're
there was
like,
a
guys,
Bible
this is canceled.
shortage.
There was a Bible shortage.
Bummer.
Yeah.
But
Boys,
you're kind of right, Tim. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say here?
I was gonna change it up a little bit, but are we continuing?
Are we talking about Bibles still?
No.
Then I
this
don't
was
want to
just
hear
gonna.
it.
I was
Episode
just-
over.
I don't want to hear it. I was just gonna agree because, I guess this will be my last thing. I kind of agree with you, Tim, because like there's these laws that are like passed down to the point where they're like,
They don't mean anything.
well, they're not attached to a human anymore, and that's kind of like what you. I mean, at the end of the day, this Watson will have to be written by a human, and then he'll be passed down, and his actions won't be like human anymore. But at the end of the day, like a human made him, just like
And the
amendments that
cultural
we follow
context of when those laws were written or when those codes were written changes.
will change.
There's a
right?
reason that it says the right to bear arms. It doesn't say the right to own a Glock. It's like
This is true.
our Constitution needs some patch notes, man. Like
Right, they didn't know that
we need to
would
buff
outgrow
to buff
arms.
free speech and nerf Amazon. That shit's dumb busted.
So what you're saying is we need more amendments, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
We need demandments.
we need copyright law to get like thrown out the fucking window, so Disney can't
yeah.
keep buying up stuff and suing daycares.
I mean, you think Disney's gonna go under some like some monopoly lawsuits sometime soon? I feel like they are.
I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me, the whole like copyright thing. It's kind of crazy to me that like what is it? Like there's like the Walt Disney thing. I don't remember if it's after he died or after it was established, but like the copyright law is like after 75 years after it's made, or like after the person dies, it becomes like free use. But they extend that deadline every year, like every couple of years, because Walt Disney's dead, and he's been dead for 75 years, and they're like, shit, we don't want to get rid of Mickey Mouse to the world, so like they always seem to extend it when that like thing is coming up. So I mean,
But is he dead though?
Or just frozen.
And the jails that are running underneath Disney right now are really popping. So
I prefer to call them Mick prisons.
Mick prisons.
They've got a partnership.
The ultimate company, Mick Disney. Mac Disney.
How about Mick Disney King?
Oh, I don't like that.
Have it your wish upon a star.
What would a hybrid of every company look like? Like a super monopoly?
Beppis. That's the King Corporation. I don't even know.